Good morning. Haiti Oropesa, Stephanie Pointer, and Keela McCaskill. Florida You Judge, welcome to Florida You Judge. Thank you for tuning in. We have a very good show this morning. We're going to be talking about Tampa Mayor Jane Castor and her promises of affordable homes in Tampa. Olivia George from the Tampa Bay Times recently, at the end of December, wrote an article and headlined, Tampa's mayor promised 10,000 affordable homes. She isn't close. Good job on reporter Olivia George from the Times on writing this. Has been the buzz since its publication. A lot of people are talking about it. I've heard a little bit of the down and dirty with John Dingfelder. He had Olivia George on. He had Allison, what's her last name?
Hewitt.
She's going to be on shortly. But we're going to be talking about this. So in a couple of minutes, oh, there she goes. So we'll see you in just 1 second. Good morning, Miss Hewitt.
Good morning.
I've heard a lot of great things about you.
Oh, well, thank you. You stand around too much longer, you hear the other side.
I know that's true.
Yeah, that problem.
That's like Cat Williams when he went ham this week.
Oh, yeah.
He said that there's God's side and the other side, and we don't really give a rip about the other side. So
exactly.
That's starting in 2024. That's the quote of one of the great quotes of this year. Okay, so Stephanie Pointer, you're going to be leading the discussion.
Okay.
I'm playing background tech director here today. So because I'm not knowledgeable about what you guys are going to talk about, you all are. And I'm just going to sit and listen to what you all say. So, Stephanie?
So, good morning. I'd always like to start out, Florida You Judge, with a little bit of basic, whoever our guest is. And Allison, can you give us the basic Allison, just who you are and why you're the go-to person for this particular situation?
Basic, I am third generation Tampa born and raised. I have about 20 odd years of economic development experience. Started with under Governor Jeb Bush as a director of the Office of Urban Opportunity, where I worked with Florida Housing and other major entities to do development around the state. And then I have contracted to run a couple of CRAs in the state of Florida, and have been a consultant the last few years for major economic development projects and technical assistance to nonprofits.
Peachy. So how did you get roped into this article? I think it's very interesting that it came out when it did. Right. I have experienced some of the hearings that have been put towards this. I actually spoke at City Council, the last City Council meeting before Christmas. I brought up the fact that the Rome Yard project was approved about the same time as the Hannah Street project, and Hannah Street is completely finished, and they still haven't broken ground on the Rome Yard project. And that was 57 months ago, the last time it was in the newspaper, that they talked about how they were going to move forward with that. So I'm just wondering when Related Group's going to get back up on their feet and get it done. And it's my understanding that within the last 3 or 4 months, they have went to at least the West Tampa CRA and asked for another $4.5 million. I would argue that they probably wouldn't need it had they broke ground when they were initially given the FRP. I don't know. I don't know anything about that, but I just know, and I don't recall seeing it in the budget for the city. So that's something else that I think is kind of peculiar.
Yeah, as I said in the my statement in the article, development, especially housing development here in Florida, is very difficult. The layers of financing to be able to do affordable housing is extremely technical. So the difference between Hannah and Rome Yard is Hannah was 100% funded by the city, so they could just continuously write their checks to be able to do it. But Rome Yard has, and again, I'm not in the details of that project, but if it's a typical affordable housing mixed use development projects, the number of layers of funding is tremendous. And considering that Rome Yard was also a place where they had housed vehicles. Don't know if there was some brownfields that will have to require some mediation before they break ground. So what I've also said in the article, transparency and communication is key, especially to our communities, to understand that these projects are very complicated. The actual building is complicated alone. To be able to get the insurance and be able to get the bonding and all that capacity is just difficult and regular process of regular development. When you add affordable on there, you've got to add some other layers of requirements from the government. If you're going to get some subsidies from the state, you got to get some subsidies from the federal government. So it's if they just communicated better and actually, talk to their constituents and explain. I mean, we have the capacity to understand. But what we don't have a capacity is to trust when you obfuscate and exaggerate and you tell the truth.
Well, I have a question before we even get into the article itself and the whole 10,000 units. I want to know who came up with 10,000 units, because from 2016, we're about 2017, over 150, 165 people per day were coming to Tampa. We didn't catch it. Most people didn't catch it until 2019, 2020 or so, right? And then COVID happened, and then there you go. So we needed 10,000 units in 2016. This announcement came when? When did she start the whole, I'm going to have 10,000 units? When did that start? And then how did she come up with that number? Because I would say to you, we need way more than 10,000 units. That number was so 2016. I just want to know how they came up with that, when they came up with that, so that you would have been able to shoot for a realistic target. And then how much of involvement, because it's so layered and because there's so many layers and it's so complex to do affordable housing. Why not have, when you shoot that number out, you get it from the developers that's working in this space that can help you towards this target, the nonprofits that's working in this space that can help you towards that targeted number, so you wouldn't be out there by yourself, because you're not going to be able to do it alone. So I know that's a loaded question and you don't necessarily work for the city, but I just like to know where it came from. And then who all were involved at the decision when you made 10,000 units your target. Like, because to start there will help me understand how you get out there and just start making up stuff, so to speak.
I think if you really, really dig down to where the numbers come from, I think we would have to go back to, and I have a copy of the document back here, the sustainability report that the mayor did for forecasting. And I'd love to pull that out when I get a second and I'm not on screen. But I would like to point out that 4003 South Manhattan is funded in part by the city and by the Tampa Housing Authority. And they have went from, concept all the way to, I've got 4 stories worth of block building already built in about a year and a half. So I don't understand the concepts of we're dragging our feet and let me tell you something, that Ritz-Carlton seems to be shooting up. So
that's not,
but that's a related group. So why aren't we? And I've seen projects like the one down the street from me go from brownfield all the way to, we're getting ready to get their CO within the next 30 days in 18 months. And I'm sorry, but I just don't see it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like I always say, in the city of Tampa, everything moves like the little engine that could, unless the mayor wants it done. And then it's a Japanese bullet train. So that's what we see over and over and over again, because by God, if she wants it done, she'll get it done. So I'm wondering when she's going to want to get this done versus just talking about it. And
then, yeah, and then who do we need to talk to make sure that this happens? I know she's not going to be able to do 10,000 units or 8,000 units or 9,000 units in the next 2 years. So we know that. So we're not stupid. Like, let's start there. What can be done? What can be done? We don't have to like the people that's doing this, but we all love Tampa. We all want to work and grow, particularly marginalized communities, Allison. So with what's here, what the information that you all put in this article, listen, Olivia wrote, I mean, just the planning of the article and the way that it was written and the details that's there, it says a lot. And I do believe if we have a shot at getting anything done, it's going to take the people that this mayor has brought on. Now, she doesn't seem to know much about housing, but she brought on Travis and Drumgo, and I know that they do. And unfortunately, I feel sorry for them because they've come to a city that doesn't appreciate the talent and the skill sets that they have and what they can do. Because I don't think, to Stephanie's point, that the mayor wants to do what's desired in East Tampa and or the marginalized communities. I don't think she wants the community to have the input that they should or could. And so you have these talented people that's put their resumes in a city that just really doesn't lend to the, the expansion or the capacity that they could. So I'm sorry that they even had to get involved in Tampa. I'm sorry that we're not really helping them be great. The great people that they were where they were just in Polk County, like just in Lakeland, making miracles happen. And then you get to Tampa and we have more money in a budget to do something. We have will of the developers and the nonprofits in the area lending ideas and support to make it happen in the area, and nothing happens. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there. I hate that these people got
I agree.
Messy city.
And I think you it's really important to that we point out that the beginning of this tale that was told prior to Miss Travis or Mr. Drumgo even coming to work for the city. These tales were told by the previous director of economic development and landing. And you know what? Now somebody has put her on the ARC. And but bottom line is that I don't know, you decide. But I think it's important to know that these previous tales that started in 2019 were not told by Miss Travis and were not told by Mr. Drumgo.
Correct.
And I reached out to her this morning, and I should have probably done it earlier this week, but I didn't get a chance to speak with her about it. But I think it's important. I think that she brings up in the article that we spent a lot of funds keeping people in the housing that they're in the city over the last couple of years because they were going to lose the roof over their head. And a lot of that funding was. But Haiti, if you want to cue up the September 6th video when you get a second, that September 6th, 2022, as part of the budget review, I noticed that they had allocated $5.5 million to solid waste, which is not. Solid waste is what they call an enterprise fund. It makes money and it has its own money for spending. And it really and truly, as a rule, should not be pulling funds from the general fund. And I identified that on September 6th of last year or 2 years ago at City Council. Did you find it, Haiti? I hope it works.
What's the time mark on that?
That one is, hold on a second. I'm sorry. It is 1 hour and 25 minutes. I didn't send this to Haiti until this morning, so it's totally on me that it wasn't there.
It does wonders for my anxiety.
I'm sorry.
I'm joking. Okay, so
there it is.
We got to lead the city. Because, and Charlie knows, he knows, Ray Park, Lincoln Garden, the whole bit. It's embarrassing. I just want to lay it out there. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
some of these issues are.
Good evening, Council. My name's Stephanie Pointer. I have a couple things that I want to talk about. Number one, I'm only at page 556 out of the 1,004 pages because I have spent half my life reading the City Council agenda. Last week, we had $16.5 million requested in the first 8 items, and it took me a long time to get through them. I really appreciate Councilwoman Hurtak asking for that one pager so that we can look at those and decide whether we want to get a little deeper. I do have $5.5 million for y'all out of this budget because last week when we had the budget meeting 2 weeks ago, I asked Mr. Perry, why are we giving $5.5 million of ARPA money to solid waste? And he said to control our waste bill. Well, here's my question for you. They came to us last week, they came to City Council last week and asked for $220 million for a new incineration plant. You guys do the math. I think that 5.5 needs to come out of that fund and come back to housing.
We can stop there.
That's how I feel.
We can stop there.
I would like for you also to.
I remember that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And if you
Are you gonna need to reference this anymore? Should I?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. But here's
close
what
that
you're
out?
going to do. You're going to go to 2 hours and 16 minutes right now and watch them commit to it.
Okay, so let me do that.
Please, ma'am.
Of the same video.
Yes.
Let me just go
It's hard. It's hard.
1 minute. No. It's good.
Say a few words.
Chief?
Thank
There
you,
we
John
go.
Bennett, Chief of Staff. If I can be supported by Ms. Travis and Mr. Ruggiero, want to put something from listening to public comment on the floor for council's consideration as we move from this hearing to the next hearing. It's just a suggestion, and we are in a housing crisis. This has come up before, just tonight. So it's a lot of contemplation. I've talked to Mr. Ruggiero about it. I've talked to Mr. Ruggiero about it. I talked to Ms. Travis and Ms. Feely about it. And listening to public comment, and especially the feedback from Ms. Pointer, is that we know that there's $5.5 million in ARPA sitting in solid waste. We know that we have to do a rate study anyway. So the suggestion would be, if the rate study can include an efficiency scenario of absorbing that 5.5, and by the mid-year review, which we do typically right after March, if the monies that have been allocated for housing in the broad scope can be freed up from the efficiencies in the rate study, the question I posed to Ms. Travis and Mr. Ruggiero, Mr. Washington, is do you think you can include in the rate study a methodology that would absorb that money that's earmarked to recover the rates without a rate increase by doing a business efficiency process within the rate study? And if so, we could put a pin in that saying that anything that can be recovered from that rate study would go to housing by the midterm of the fiscal year. So that's kind of what is being
That's
put
good.
out, both Mr. Ruggiero, Ms. Travis, Ms.
Now, I want to point out that everybody, not just Stephanie Pointer, not just City Council, but everybody thought that that was a commitment to spend those funds on affordable housing. And not only that, if you'll queue up, I'm sorry, Haiti, this last one, I promise, on the 20th, not only on the 20th of September, at 25 minutes and 51 seconds.
Give me a second.
Dennis Ruggiero, who is the CFO for the city, actually includes it in his PowerPoint. And
Okay,
brags
what's the time mark?
25:51, so almost 26. He brags about it.
25. Okay, 25.
25 minutes.
I gotcha. 25:51. Got it. I'm getting it now.
A lot of magic tricks go on in this.
Yes. And I thought I was kind of crazy at first when I found out the money didn't get there. And then I went back and watched, and I was like, wait, I'm thinking everybody, but the bottom line is every penny counts.
Every penny counts.
Every penny counts. And to ignore the fact that we were told publicly in a public hearing, here we go, that
our negotiation process with the collective bargaining units, we tried to focus on 4 core principles, our 4 corners you see up there in the upper left corner. Housing, an emphasis on housing and providing assistance, especially in this environment, a continued emphasis. This has always been a hallmark of the Castor administration. Next, taking care of our valuable employees, not only in this pandemic and following the pandemic, but in this extraordinary inflationary environment. And next, guarding our fund balance. You've heard us speak to this many times before, and I'll elaborate in just a moment. And again, maintaining and in some instances, expanding our level of service, whether it's through staff, whether it's through projects, et cetera. If I can jump into just a little bit more detail in housing, you'll recall we started this recommended budget with just over $26 million in new money, brand new. This is not carry forward money. On the second line, you see we've added a potential $5.5 million, which we've discussed, from the American Rescue Plan Act revenue replacement funding for the solid waste.
And then last but not least is me screaming about it this year because I found out that they kept the money in solid waste. They spent $200 million of solid waste funds, which belongs to solid waste. You can't spend it on anything else, so who cares? It's a different pot of money. But that $5.5 million was ARPA money that they could spend on anything. And their priority was what? Trash, garbage. I'd like to point out one of my girlfriends is pretty high up in the city in Louisville government. They spent their ARPA money. They spent $100 million of their ARPA funds on affordable housing, on housing. $100 million. We gave it a lick and a promise. As Mr. Rajero put in that PowerPoint, it was $26 million. But yet I think we gave $70 million last summer to the police department.
The mayor was a former police chief. This is, listen, I'm sorry I said I was going to stay quiet, but my blood is starting to boil here. Because that's why people, generally the public, do not trust politicians. All she did was make a promise for political expediency, for her self-interest, and she's not doing anything about it. That's what the headline is. She said something. She's not even close. It's just a promise, and that's what they do. They promise things for their own benefit so that they could get reelected. Who knows what she's planning on after her term is up with as a mayor. It's incensing to hear this.
It is, and I'm not at all political, right? I'm so new to this, but I find it hard to believe that people think that we are that stupid not to see it. And maybe we're busy in life and we really don't care. You know, the day-to-day people, they trying to pay bills. They're trying to pay the rent, the mortgages. Life is happening. I'm sick. I'm tired. I don't care what that woman do. But honestly, we need more people paying attention so we don't sound like the crazies for pointing it out, because people are banking on new units becoming available. I just saw a woman say she's looking for a 2-bedroom for $1,000.
Not going to happen.
Not in Tampa. It won't happen. But some people are just looking for affordability. And for you to say something like that, knowing damn well you're not even working on it. Because to have, how many units, Allison? 1,000? How many units do they actually have out of the 10,000?
548.
Okay. And how many do they have permitted?
Permitted, they have 304.
And how many do they have funding for?
Funded, they have 381 that's funded.
Okay. Any more units that we didn't talk about? Because this is what I want. I want to take a pen and paper and do the math.
Yes, absolutely.
Because city council need to be saying, we're not letting you do this. You're not gonna lie to us. You're not gonna piss on me and call it rain. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. And I don't like to be lied to. Don't play with me, because unfortunately I'm feeling like Haiti right now, because I didn't know you could do such a thing. Put it out there and don't do it. Just put it out there. Like, whoop, just y'all figure it out. And then when I'm out of office, I done said 10,000 units, and really I got 2,000.
She got 10,000 units. She's got 10,000 units. You know where they're at? South of Gandy. And none of them are affordable.
Wait, but the
Except
city
for the 30 that the neighborhoods negotiated.
Did the city pay for any of them?
No.
You can't count.
And the city didn't even negotiate the 30 affordable. We did.
You can't count
them.
She
got 10,000 units south of Gandy, where they're not supposed to be building anything.
That's a coastal high hazard area, and it shouldn't even be on the discussion. I'm talking about the one she said she was going to have. Now, I was going to say, maybe she didn't know. Maybe because she didn't have the talent that she has now then. She had that lady Carol Post and them, and I know she didn't know nothing concerning housing in terms of what we need right now. So she didn't have people that can say, no, you ain't gonna do that. No, you're not gonna be able to accomplish that.
I would argue that there's no incompetence on Carol Post's part. There was no incompetence on Carol Post's part. That's what I would argue. And I would also like to point out that there's 100 units of those 500 that Allison talked about. 100 of those units are the Casa Belmar, which was initiated and generated by the people of that church. They sold that church specifically for affordable housing. The folks worked their butts off to make that an affordable housing project because the church was dying. They moved the members to a different church, and the church worked for months to negotiate a deal to get that to be affordable housing. So is that something the city initiated? No, it's not. That was done by the church. I have met with those folks. I talked to them personally. Somebody actually brought it up at a city council meeting and called it out. And the guy sitting in front of me goes, that's all affordable. I was like, oh, how did he know? Because I said it at the same time. And I said, how did he know that? Well, he was one of the people who negotiated the entire development.
So what do we do? What can we do with this information? You know, I'm a gatherer, right? I just refuse to believe that we have to just accept this, right? What can be done? She only has 2.5 years left, maybe 3. I don't know. But at the rate they're going right now, she's not going to even meet half of that number. I want to know, as I'm a gatherer. Now, you don't have to like me to deal with me. I get it. Everybody, I'm not for everybody, and everybody not for me, right? But I want to see affordable units, community-led type development opportunities. So I want to see it happen. I want to see them get creative. I know that they're going to do what they can throughout the duration of their tenure here in Tampa. But what can we do to make sure that, our great mayor said that she's leading this thing, this whole campaign with transparency and accountability. So in the vein of doing that and moving forward, how do we do that? What do we do? Like, we know it's a lie at this point. Okay, we know you lie. How can we come together, lies or not? How can we come together and make this happen? Because at the end of the day, the Tampa is the number one on everybody's list lately. Number one, everything. Number top 3, top 5, top 10, we everywhere, right? And it could be just good marketing, good lies being told. But it's an opportunity to do something great in the city, not just for the wealthy, not just for the middle class, but even for the people, the working folks, the low income. We all need an opportunity. So what can we do to make that happen? I'm more so of a gatherer, and I want to see it happen. I don't just want to throw them under the bus, because I do think because of the complexities involved in affordable housing. Allison, would you agree that the number that they have is not bad? Because they didn't have experience until now, until they got Nicole and Elise. So
the numbers are relatively realistic. Mm-hmm. What has been done is not a bad job. They've done actually pretty good. considering what the market is. The things that I would recommend is they are working on policies. On the September 28th workshop, they did a comprehensive plan update where they have several, I think, exceptionally thoughtful policy areas that they're exploring. So, but they also did, it was the housing needs study. One of the things that when we kept questioning in the public, how do we get to the 10,000 units? What was the actual data? They have the preliminary report also that was released on September 28th had significant realistic data, but also the most surprising is they also found that the affordable units are going to people who don't need the affordable units.
Right.
They did a very deep dive, and in North Tampa, at the 120% AMI, 7,000 of those units were being rented to people who are above 120% AMI.
Mm-hmm.
And the 30%, and at the 30% AMI, almost 2,000 of those units were going to folks at 120, because 120 could get through the process to be approved. And so,
Talk about
because they
their
have
income.
this
Talk about their
data
income.
now.
What is the income? It was it $90,000 for somebody at 120%? Just so people understand, when you say 120%, those people make about 93. What do they make? 89.
The AMI currently for Hillsborough County, that is the average median income, that's just regular, is 70,000, 70 and some change. The average median income in East Tampa is $24,400. So that is at least, 30% of AMI. If not,
Right.
no, I get no. That's like less than. So if I had any recommendation, is the city now has the data. So now let's put the policies together to protect those affordable units for those affordable, the people who really need those affordable units.
I think
Let's
I think one of the reasons why we have such a big problem is those people are stagnant in those units because regular market rate units went through the roof. I mean, you couldn't afford to move. So people who started out being in those units because they belonged in those units, and now they've made more money and they should be moving out of them. They can't because the price of rent has went up so much. I mean, we went from $1,000 a month for a one bedroom to $1,600 a month for a one bedroom. That's just me swagging it. I haven't seen the actual numbers in a week or two. The market is starting to shift very, very slightly. I see that as a property manager. It's not huge, and it's starting at the top, which is good because that means it's going to loosen up for those folks who have moved up economically but have not moved up in housing because they couldn't afford to. The same house, even a house on my street, the same house that I rented 2 years ago for $2,600 a month now rents for, last summer it was renting for $4,000 a month. Now it's probably renting $3,200. So it's inching down just a little bit, but I mean, it's not the time of year to be renting anything. But you got to remember, folks are not able to sell who might want to sell at this point. So the rental market is going to become more flexible because we're going to have more inventory over time.
Right.
Okay, real quick, Adrian Rodriguez, because I'd like to say hi to those who are tuning in and weighing in with their opinions.
I
their
love
perspective.
Adrian.
So, Adrian, good morning. And her reaction is that Jane Castor, she has a PhD in lip service.
Wow.
Free speech is a wonderful thing. That's her perspective. But I do want to commend, because I always want us to be presenting truth, facts, and not everyone has their opinion, but we should always have the goal of presenting facts and truth. And so I want to commend Allison and Keela, because you both kind of said something that made me kind of tweak a little what I said in an emotional reaction based on what I'm hearing, that the city, in terms of this issue, they have enough right now that's realistic as far as affordable housing. Thank you, Keela, for being the gatherer and wanting to kind of say, look, even though we're saying all of this, they are realistically close to what they could have done under the circumstances. Is that correct, Allison? So
Yes,
I
that's
think,
absolutely correct. Yes.
and so good on both of you for doing that. So I'm gonna take a little bit of a step back in opening up an initial emotional can on the mayor. But here's the thing that I've learned, and I've done it. You got to be careful with what you promise, not to overpromise. I never kind of box myself in to saying this is what I'm gonna do, because I know that if I fall short, then my credibility is decreased, because some
Right.
people are gonna say, you said this to me, you promised this. Maybe that was her error in having done that. So
It-
I have one question. When she made the promise, I don't know what date the promise was made, but when she made the promise, was there foreseeability that coming conditions was going to thwart the ability to hit her goal of 10,000? Or did
I
that
don't
change
think
later?
I don't. I think that since they had to shift their focus to try to keep people in their homes, a significant amount of their brain power went to creating new policies, new opportunities, and new funding streams to keep people in their homes. So that did take their focus off of, because as everyone knows, the city is not working at the capacity of number of employees that they should have to be able to serve residents, a city of this size.
Okay,
So
so
it's a,
if they wouldn't have switched to that other concern, would they have been able to be on track with the 10,000?
oh no.
Oh,
There was
no.
the 10,000 was not.
So they shouldn't have made that promise.
I
Period.
just
They shouldn't have
I,
made that promise, because then now look, she
And I
looks
know
like
for
she's a
sure.
liar.
I know for sure that had she had the team that she has now back then, they probably wouldn't have let her say 10,000, because I recently started
Right.
working with her team, and I was trying to like roll out these ambitious goals, and both Travis and Drumgo was like, you're not even that's no, you're not gonna do that, and we're not gonna even set that up, because that's not gonna be realistic. You're gonna focus in on this. You
Yeah.
can do this. And even though I was like, oh, they were very truthful, even if they had to hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
They told you the
Yeah.
absolute truth. So I think if she would have had that then, she wouldn't have been able to say
I don't
that
think she would
back
have made the
then.
same.
Yeah,
She would.
nobody was listening. She just pulled that number out of the air and ran with it. But to your point, that's why you don't make those kind of promises. But because I still want to see some progress, you lied or you made it up. I'm gonna say you
Well,
you
so
didn't know no better.
and I will say one of my major challenges is when you go before the camera and say you're going to be transparency and accountability, that you are going to make sure that you hold, the people of your team and city council, and that you are just bamming the drum on transparency and accountability, then you treat the people with transparency and accountability. Then
That's right.
you hold yourself accountable that these are the realistic numbers that we did, and we worked really hard. Our team has worked hard to create policies to make affordable housing better. We haven't, but they didn't just run with the policies. They've done the research. I will say, as a group in the Gatherer, I will strongly encourage, because they're basing things on having spoken to 1,000 stakeholders. Well, we have a lot more people than 1,000 that are being impacted. We've got to get these meetings information out there. We've got to get to where people can come in and actually, be able to have some realistic, this is what's happening to me on the ground. But if you're going to stand on the platform and in front of the cameras and say transparency and accountability, then it needs to be for everything, not to just go after your political opponents.
Exactly.
It needs to be for everything.
okay, well, so there's not enough evidence, I think, based on what Allison has said, that the intention was to deceive. or like
Well-
maybe it was unwise that she did that.
Right.
You live, you learn.
But-
You don't do
but
that. You got to be
At
careful. But
some point, you have to say, you know what, this isn't realistic, and we're not going to be able to do it. And
Correct.
I'm not, you know, I mean, I make mistakes, and I have seen Keela make mistakes. I've seen Keela get up there in front of city council and apologize publicly to folks.
there's
And-
nothing
and-
wrong with
and
saying, you know what?
I will do it too.
Right.
I have been known to do it.
That's a good thing
but
to
the
do.
problem is when you
From
No,
a
say-
politician, especially, they don't do that. They don't want to do that. But it's a good thing. It's a good
Yes.
human
Mhm.
thing to say, you know what? I was ambitious, because Olivia George, while talking to John Dingfelder, said that it was more rooted in ambition than realistically being able to do it when she said what she said. So you could say, look, I was excited. I wanted to get that done, but now I apologize. I promise something that realistically, it's not going to happen. That goes a long way with me, because you're admitting, look, I said something that I maybe shouldn't. I was too quick to say.
Amen.
And that's a good thing. Anyways.
So what are we going to do? Like somebody has to keep the fire underneath them we want transparency. We want you to be accountable. So that we want you to come to the table and say what the plan, you shift gears, and now what you're going to do. Because, and I'm not, this is a shameless plug, but I'm not just saying it because I want this to happen, but I come to the community serving. I lead with serving. But then there's also a side of me that I also want to participate in the great development opportunities available in East Tampa. There are some key stakeholders. You all have been to these sites. You've seen what a lot of these landowners, their desire to do, and they're within a CRA, right? So that CRA has, I don't know, what, $31 million, Allison? About
Yes,
somewhere around
about.
$31 million. And if these landowners of these 6 projects could leverage some of those dollars to bring in development, it will help you lend almost 1,000 units to this goal of 10,000. Maybe 1,000, maybe even more, depending on the projects themselves. But 200 here, 200 there, 100 there. And at this point, it's community-led. You're investing in the community that's already been investing in the tax incremental funds over 20, 30, 40, some of them 50 years. And they're wanting an opportunity to participate in development. You can take the credit, city. I don't care about credit. I want to see units. I want to see people have opportunities to bring affordable housing, mixed use into the area that needs it the most. Because if you do that type of development, it not only impacts the housing, but it starts to trickle into people have a generational wealth. Now you have commercial components in this area, and it's pouring into more TIF dollars for the area. We want it to be great too. I don't understand why community input like that is not appreciated in this state of the game, because you're not going to reach your number by yourself or with the people that you want to develop in East Tampa. Why not embrace that? So what else can we do outside of what I'm saying? Because I don't know if they want to do it or not. Like we're on the fence about how they're going to proceed with that. We'll find out soon. But I'm going to let you know, you need people to participate in this development, because you're not going to reach that number by yourself. There's not enough nonprofits in East Tampa to help you hit 10,000 units. And they don't all need to be East Tampa, because I think they can do something in Sulphur Springs. But I'm just saying, what can we do now to make sure they're accountable, they're being transparent, and we're moving forward with some progress?
And I think the CRAs will move forward. I think they will. I think that Elise and Nicole have hired somebody who is going to move our CRA system forward, streamline it, make it something that, that is accessible to more folks who want to be participating in the development and the redevelopment and whatever it is that makes the CRA cure the slum and blight. So I really feel like that is a step forward in my opinion. I think that Erica Moody is going to be able to do something with that. And the problem was we didn't have any leadership in the CRA under the CRA umbrella for a year, maybe more, 2 years. So that really has hurt the moving forward. And now she's come in, and I tell everybody, the bottom line is that, you don't know a job for the first 6 months you're on the job, because really and truly you are still figuring out what your job is. And then at that 6 months point, you start to twist it and make it yours. And you start to twist it and clean up the things that you don't like. But you really have to have a good understanding of what you're doing before you can make changes for the better. And I think that Miss Moody is going to be able to do that. And I'm very impressed that Elise and Nicole chose her. But
that may be another show altogether.
Yes, that is a whole nother show.
I think that
I agree.
Moody has an exceptional talent, but as long as the CRA continue to move towards taking the people and the voice of the community, the people who are the stakeholders out of the process, all this is going to be is government-led gentrification.
Right. And I don't think it's going
until they come up with a plan that's actually going to have an equitable outreach and allow a voice of the people, because everything they have done so far in their streamlining has negated the voice, has taken out the voice and taken out participation. And so all the projects that you will see now are coming from the staff and what the staff judges to have be able to move forward, not the people in the community.
Well,
and that's not going to work.
I don't disagree. I don't know enough about it, but I think that within the next 60 days to 90 days, I think we're going to see some differences in things that are going on. That's all.
Well, that's if they make the changes that's necessary. Because to Allison's point, like there's no transparency even in that process. You know, I recently said, okay, we can't trust this staff. I'm not saying anything about staff, because again, I adore the people that the mayor has brought on to represent, again, Travis and Drumgo. I don't try to have relationships with the people, because at any minute I might be throwing missiles and I don't want you to get hit, because I respect your talent. So move out the way. This is not for you. This is mainly for the people that's in charge. So city council needs to be more active in listening to the people that pay the taxes in the area, the neighborhoods, and the folks that voted you in to do your job. 3 of them might want to be a mayor. This is not the time to do what that mayor is telling you to do. Right. This is not the time to be lazy and not read and not listen to the people that can vote or that's paying taxes in these areas, because they're saying what they want, but because you're not hearing from the people you want to hear it from, or because you're hearing it from the staff, you're not tending to listen to these people. They were competent enough for you to come to their little events and you solicit votes. They should be competent enough for you to listen and say, hey, this is what we want to do in the area. And I would like to see city council be more involved, because initially we didn't want city employees as the CRA. The CRA asked to hire their own folks. They forced us to accept Nicole Travis. I love her. I like her. I think she's excellent. We didn't want Nicole Travis. Remember? That was the whole reason I had to come up.
Right. Well, the guy they hired said, no, because there was a big fist fight between council and the mayor.
Yep.
So that guy said, yeah, thanks anyway. I life is too short for that job.
Yeah. How much you pay? I don't want to work with you all.
Yeah.
So again, we need to see that, but there needs to come into, okay, this is not personal. This is about, there's lives hanging in the balance. The lives hanging in the balance. People need somewhere to live. They want to live in all parts of Tampa. We need some affordability, but East Tampa just don't have the greatest opportunity for some development, and whether it's mixed use or affordable housing. I just want to figure out how to figure out what we can do. Like if we can leave the show with some takeaways as far as what the community can do, how involved they can get, what we can do as people that's trying to push forward, you know, the development and whatever else you're trying to push forward. What can we do? Like some takeaways for us to really be able to hold them accountable to these 10,000 units. I think hopefully Olivia George does follow up.
Allison, and how many houses do they have out of that 10,000 that are ready or being made ready?
Okay, that's completed is 548.
Right.
So if you add the 150 for rehab, so and then they have permitted, that is permitted plan, but you know, we move forward. That's 304. So that'll be 800 and some change. And what's funded is 381.
So that's 1,233. If we add the 150 rehabs, that's 1,383. So we don't even have 2,000 units.
No.
We have a long way to go. And so as community and as some of these nonprofits that's listening, the developers that might be listening, the community that may be listening that's hopeful, the neighborhoods that's listening that's hopeful, what can we do as a whole, or what can we do in chunks that could help?
You know what I think every single neighborhood can do? They can ask for a affordable component. I know just south of Gandy, if we had asked for 5% of every single apartment complex that was coming in down here to be affordable, we would have had, I think, 400 units that were affordable. But we weren't smart enough initially to ask for it. Actually, I did ask for it, but I didn't ask for it in the correct verbiage. I asked for Section 8. And so once I learned the difference between affordable and Section 8, then I that's when we actually ended up with 30 units with a development down here, because we asked for it initially. Actually, we asked for it. They wanted to build 450 next door, and those people said, "Oh no, we don't want to do affordable." And then they got up in front of council and said, "Oh, we'll do live local, which is 40%." And I'm like, "Y'all are liars. We asked you for affordable. We just asked for 10% affordable." And they said, "No, that was before live local." So if we could really, really, as neighborhoods and citizens, when we see development happening, if we just ask for a small part, I mean, think about it. If they're building 250 apartments, that's what 5% is 10, 12 apartments to make those, set those aside for affordable, because we've learned over the years since the 50s and 60s that huge developments of affordable housing is not productive. Where we mix everybody together and we give everybody some opportunity.
I would like to add quickly, we have recently created the Housing Leadership Council of Tampa Bay, made up of nonprofits, made up of developers, bankers, people who fund it, and they will be really taking the lead. I am on the board of directors there to start having the policy question move forward.
Allison, how can people contact you? Because it seems to me that whoever's in Tampa that wants to participate in trying to get more affordability housing into the city, you're a good reference to contact.
Yes, they can
contact you.
They can leave a message on the contact on the Housing Leadership of Council of Tampa Bay, www.hlctb.org or info@hlctb.org. I have access to those emails.
Okay, so here we go. If you want to contact Allison, she seems like a really good person to contact on this issue. www.hlctb.org. You can contact that organization, which she is a part of.
Or info@hlctb.org.
Is that the email?
Yeah.
That's the email. Yes.
Okay, it would be hlctb.org. Yes?
Yes,
That's
the
the
housing.
email.
Yes, that's the Housing
Okay,
Leadership
so let's go
Council
ahead and
in Tampa
publish
Bay.
that.
Excellent.
So you would email info@hlctb.org if you want to find out how you can get involved to further forward affordable housing in Tampa. And so there's a couple of let's get to Tatiana Morales, and good morning. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your interaction here with your comment, and let's go ahead and read it. And as you mentioned, Section 8 and other housing vouchers, there's the problem of not enough available and attainable market rate housing. So even when people do get vouchers, they can't get placed. Mm-hmm. So there is the fact that we haven't prioritized development in communities like USF that want more.
Right.
Right.
Hey, Stephanie, would
Yes.
you tell all the neighborhoods about the THAN meet and greet? Because I think throughout the
Yes.
year, you're going to have great discussion around something similar and what neighborhoods can do to kind of push for things like what.
Yes, we need to talk about that at our Fans of THAN meeting.
So,
But can you
yeah.
talk about the meet and greet for the neighborhood?
So we have a couple of minutes. Go ahead and do
Right.
that, and go, Stephanie.
Well, what the THAN is meeting at Wellswood Community Center on the 10th at 7 o'clock. We
What's
moved
the
it back a
date,
little bit.
Stephanie?
On the 10th, this
So it's
Wednesday
January 10th at what
Mhm.
time?
at 7 o'clock.
7
On
o'clock, 7
Wellswood,
p.m. And so what's the
yes.
address?
Hold on
And
just a second.
THAN is meeting. Yeah.
It's a meet and greet.
It's 4806.
Wait.
Wishart.
A meet and greet. I'm
Mhm.
ready for the address.
It is 4806.
4806.
It's WISHART.
Wait. 4806. Say it again. I'm sorry. I'm typing and hearing you.
Wishart. WISHART.
Got it.
Boulevard.
Got it.
Tampa.
Tampa. Gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's publish that for those who want to attend. You got to get involved in the community locally so that together the people can effectuate change. It's a good thing. So where did I put that?
And then I want to invite everybody out to Tampa City Council. Come down there and tell them what's concerning you. Your opportunity to share it to people that can do something about it is those 7 seats. All 7 of them, regardless of where they represent the city of Tampa, and vote is what got them there, and not voting is what can keep them from coming back.
Okay, so that's good. That's good. You could either attend, and if you can't, it's incredible and it's amazing that the actual council meetings are published on YouTube.
Yeah.
So that if you're not unable because you work, you can later on go and see what the people that are representing you, those of you who are residents of Tampa, you can see and you can keep these people accountable because they're supposed to be working for the people. The THAN meet and greet, January 10th, next week, there's a meet and greet, and it is going to be held at 4806 Wishart Boulevard, Tampa. Starts at 7. You should go there if you're interested. And
Neighborhood leaders always need assistance and support.
Does anybody you know the URL Stephanie, you do for the YouTube channel for Tampa City Council?
If you just go to YouTube and put in Tampa City Council, all the Tampa City Council meetings come up. Every weekend, I go through the Tampa City Council agenda. I read it, I boil it down, and give it to you real. And like Keela and Allison get emails from me. Anybody who I know who's active in any particular subject, I try and send that to them, so that everybody doesn't have to spend their whole weekend reading it, because it's usually pretty long. But I do publish that usually on Saturday or Sunday, just so folks who are interested about what's going on City Council can see it. But that's on the THAN Facebook page. And
YouTube, for people, those of you who live in Tampa, especially, you want to. They meet Tuesday and Thursday. I think I know that much. Not living in Tampa. Just Thursdays. Okay, Thursdays. Your city council. For those of you who live in Tampa, they meet in the morning, 9 o'clock, and you can find the recordings if you weren't able to either go in person or catch it live that morning. YouTube, and do a search for Tampa City Council for the recorded meetings.
And let me tell you, Chicago Hope, Grey's Anatomy doesn't have anything on our city council. If you start watching it and you know who the players are, you can sit in the back and be rolling all the time. I have to sit in the back row because somebody got me in trouble for saying something out loud that I didn't even say. We won't mention if that person's here or not. But so I sit in the back row because things come out of my mouth, especially when somebody's standing up there lying, is all I can do to contain myself. And those wonderful police officers who work for City Council, they are super, super sweet, but they don't have any tolerance for my big mouth when it comes out. They come back there, Miss Pointer. Now you can't do that. I'm like, yeah, I know, I couldn't help it.
I know. So okay, so one of the takeaways, we're gonna wrap up. Thanks for those who tuned in and who will watch later. The takeaway is don't overpromise, because to say 10,000 and you don't even have 1,000 makes people distrust you. We might not have evidence that you lied when you said it, but you walk away with the idea of you're not reliable, or you said something that now you were unable to deliver, and you probably did so because you wanted political points.
And it's okay to
political
adjust that. It's okay.
It's okay for what?
It's okay to adjust that.
For
And say,
sure.
"Look, that's
But
not, it wasn't realistic. I was.
Who wants to put a bet with me that against me that she's not gonna do that? Okay, so I don't think anybody's gonna bet against me. I bet that she's not gonna go out publicly and say, "My bad, I said something that it was
I just
a very
have to
far
believe that
reach
she
to
will.
get to, huh?"
I'm just gonna hope and believe that she will.
Oh, Kayla, you're a better
You're so
woman than
sweet. You're so
You
sweet.
are.
I mean,
you are.
You're having faith.
Okay, so listen, we're gonna say goodbye. Yes, and does anybody need to say anything else before we leave?
Nope. Thank you.
Happy New
Okay.
Year.
Happy New Year. That's
New
right. I
Year.
forgot to say that at the beginning. Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year.